Hello, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Podcast Assemble, show where you come for your regular geeky download. My name's Tommy, and I'm delighted, as always, to be joined by my friend and coach from across the pond. It's the returning DM!
Who's back from across the pond. Feels like it's been a long time since I recorded, even though like the succession of the episodes would not indicate this.
There's been only 1 week break, I think, between
Yes, but really though, it's been like a month.
For you, it's been a month. For me, it's been like a week. So I was like
behind the Wizard of Oz curtains.
I know. I was like, damn, I need. But what it does mean, you're returning for our 50th episode.
Of course, I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Well, technically, last week was our 50th episode with friend of the show, Andy. However,
technically, also, it's like we're at like 55, so like not on Spotify.
The real ones know. Yeah. But I put that as a bonus episode because it kind of was. It was a little bit of a break from our usual. But what I thought is I thought I'd start with just a couple of bits from memory lane to remind myself, just of things that nostalgia? Have come from you.
Oh God,
a couple of bits that. Maybe I'll try and find some clips for, and maybe I'll forget. But a couple of my favorite bits that you've brought to the table since we've started this podcast. Okay. How does that sound?
I'd love to hear them. I don't bring much to the table, so this is a short list.
It's not the longest list. First and foremost, it's the rants you love to go on. I love when you go on a rant.
I do. You might hear a couple this episode.
You very well
because
might.
I do like the source material of the main topic.
Well, we'll get to that. Yeah. But my favorite thus far has been your rant about Gandalf and magic. You know, when you were like...
I guess the way I would put it to my fantasy geeks out there is like, what can Gandalf actually do?
Great question.
No one knows because it's fucking magic. That's the point. It's
fireworks.
You're not supposed to know. You're not supposed to understand like, oh yeah, 3 decibels of his beard means that 4 decibels of his like, it's not a science experiment. It's supposed to be like this unknown thing.
You were like,
why did I do that again?
What is magic? I can't even remember. I can't remember which episode it was. Maybe it was the one about the Prestige.
It would have been, but it would have been in response to something that didn't do this. I would imagine.
Absolutely. Yeah. That was fantastic. One other one was you not remembering what we've watched, which is a common theme running throughout. Very enjoyable. You getting too heady, also very fun.
That is a thing.
And finally, my favorite of all the things is when you come with a random segment that you say you're going to keep doing and then forget immediately the week after.
There's a theme here that I don't show up prepared.
It's fantastic. The best one is the Highlander one when you came with bad quotes.
I got a game for you.
Go hit me.
Yeah,
love it.
Bad quotes from this movie. This is going to be a whole section of mine.
I can't wait.
This was going to be like my third thing I didn't like, but then I was like, fuck it, there's enough here to make a whole section.
You should do Is this a bad quote from the movie, or is this just from like Donald Trump?
Okay. I don't think it would work. Actually, some of them might.
Yeah, go on.
Them. But I think you have to just tell me when it happened and who said it.
Oh, Christ.
Or one or the other.
Yeah,
right. Okay. First one. It's better to burn out than to fade away.
I know that. Yeah. That's I remember because that's the church scene we were just bloody talking about.
I gave you an easy one to start.
That is Krugen.
Yeah,
that is the bad
in
guy.
The church scene, which I honestly couldn't tell if he was like quoting a rock song.
I was wondering if that
was
what's
like, going on there. It was so
is this a Queen lyric?
Random. Like I was like, why are you quoting like a punk rock song in this church to nuns?
I guess that's why, because it's a church to nuns. Where you came away with one of your many catchphrases.
Well, to be fair, not all movies have as bad of quotes as Highlander. I don't know how I could have made that a recurring theme, unless we were watching shitty movies all the time,
which we kind of sometimes do.
I not always.
I'm genuinely hopeful that all of those things come out today. Can we try and do that?
I do them naturally, so I think that you'll get your wish.
We might get it. Look, before we get into it, time codes will be available in the description. So if you want to hear us banter about what we've been up to in our daily lives, etc., feel free. Otherwise, you can jump around to the main topic, which we'll get to. What have you been up to? Like, I know you went home.
A lot. I mean, like, beyond just, like,
just
IRL. Yeah, beyond just, like, in the real life. I had... You know, I think I gave like a list of things I was going to do. I didn't do any of them.
You didn't. Wait, so
I just audibled. I just,
Are you honestly telling me that you didn't watch The Irishman?
No, of course not.
Oh, damn it.
There was like multiple times on the flight where I was like, I
should start this?
And I just moved my finger slowly to The Irishman, and then I just migrated it back to Seinfeld. It was just too hard, man. It's one of those ones
I don't think I'm even going to watch it.
It will perpetually be in the watch list.
I don't think I'm going to watch it.
I will watch it. I love Scorsese, and I love, what's his name? Why am I blanking? Taxi Driver. He's in every single.
Niro,
De Niro.
Pick a person.
De Niro. I love them both, but like just not ready for 3 hours. Like I need like a return of summer vacation, but in the career world for me to actually watch that movie.
Sure. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Fuck, that'll be the
I need
day,
to like
won't it?
forget
God,
what
I'd
day
love
it is,
that.
and then the day that I actually, you know, when you were like in summer vacation, you didn't know if it was a Wednesday or a Tuesday or whatever it was as a kid.
I would love those days to come back.
If those days ever return, that is the day I will watch The Irish.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, dude, I've done some pretty cool stuff while you've been away. Actually,
So, what have you
We've
done?
obviously moved house. Like we are in yet another location to be recording.
Yeah.
I think this might be the podcast that's had the most locations for recording in their first 50th episodes.
Maybe.
Or at least the first variations of areas at the very least. But I also did, and I'm probably going to link this actually in the episode description, I did a 21k walk for charity, which was
Saw that.
fantastic, and it was really rewarding. And all I did the whole way was talk to my buddy, friend of the show, Ollie, about all the geeky things we like.
Nice.
He's more of a gamer, but like he just like loves talking about geeky stuff.
Yeah.
And we got to about 2/3 of the way through. We'd been walking as like a little group together.
Before you ran out of things to say?
I wanted no. I wanted to run, right? But then the theme, the day was you were supposed to walk it as a team, and then we got to about 2/3 of the way through, and we were like, I can't walk at this pace anymore. This is too slow. So we just ended up like flying ahead of all the people we were walking with, and we just crammed in like an hour's worth of geeky nonsense in like.
Nice.
No time. It was real fun. Like real fun.
What'd you talk about? What were the things you watched? What have you been up to? Like,
Well, I can tell you what we've been up to. We talked a lot about games, as I said. Did you see any of the Game Awards?
I didn't. I have been playing a lot of Halo Infinite multiplayer though.
There was a lot of stuff. We might touch on a couple of bits on that later on, but things I was excited about from the Gaming Awards. I know our social media dude Lockie. Shout out as always. He posted about the new Star Wars game, Star Wars Eclipse. It looks amazing.
Is it like the Gaming Awards? Is this like they're doing trailers as well?
They do
stuff?
They do like a bunch of drops for stuff as well.
Okay.
But I haven't done the things I have been up to. I've got a couple of bits that I think you will enjoy. So we watched a movie. I'm just going to go through 4 things. I'm going to reduce because it's been a while since we've spoken about these things.
I've got a list of 10 things I watched.
Okay, let's just do 4 each. How does
okay.
that sound? I watched The Little Things, which is a newish Denzel movie.
That's a thriller or a mystery.
It's a mystery thriller with Denzel, and it's also got Rami Malek in it as well.
Yeah, I was gonna watch. It's got what's his name too?
Yeah, Jared Leto. Leto. It's all right. It's good. It's a bit unfulfilling. The ending's a bit like not very satisfying.
I heard bad things, and I was really excited about it. And
It's
then
not bad. The acting's good.
Then I heard bad things, and I was like, well, I guess I won't. But
it's Jared Leto, so it's not.
Well, dude, this is the kind of movie where he might be good, I thought, but
he wasn't bad in it.
Yeah.
He just wasn't. I think he's a bit tarnished in my eyes.
Yeah.
Anyway, me and the partner, we watched The Gentleman, which I know you've been wanting to rewatch. Yeah, it's good. She enjoyed it as well.
It's not his best. It's not his worst.
No, it's
Guy
way
Ritchie's,
it's way back to form from things like bloody Aladdin. And, you know when he was doing. Good. I enjoyed that actually. I enjoyed the rewatch of it. I remember coming out of it. Huh?
He did.
Yeah, can you believe that? The
one with Will
yeah.
Smith.
I know. Yeah. What? Yeah. Can you believe that's on his resume?
I had no idea.
I know. They
must have paid him a lot.
They must. Yeah. I mean, I don't know actually. Like it was gonna make $1 billion regardless. It was Disney. It was Aladdin.
Yeah, but because of that, you get paid a lot.
Yeah, fair actually.
You know,
yeah,
it's part of the when the markets are big, the dollars are big.
I don't know, man. I don't know how it really works.
Yeah.
But 2 more quick things. I watched Cowboy Bebop. Did you watch that?
I watched like the intro scene, and then I fell asleep on the plane.
I forced myself to finish it.
It's still on my list. Like I will watch it. It seems my style, but
it was fun.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like it was. Yeah, it lost a little something between like the original and it. Not that I watched any of the original properly. I watched like the first episode, but it just didn't like relate very well on screen.
Can I just say that like it's really, really like bad move by Netflix to cancel shows within like 2 weeks of releasing them because it doesn't exactly get me excited to go watch the show.
Well, exactly. And that was going to be that was part of the news. Like, it's a bad strategy.
What is this strategy? Like, hey, here's this thing. It's in the top 10 in Australia, but by the way, we just canceled it.
Yeah.
So don't watch it? Like,
I don't know, man.
It's a very weird. I don't get
bad strategy. I liked the characters. I liked everyone in it. The setting was interesting. I didn't enjoy the villain. The villain was bad.
Pretty important.
He was nonsense.
That's a pretty important thing.
Apparently, he was changed a lot from the anime as well. So that was. I mean, I'm gonna save my last one because I think we might talk about Hawkeye in a minute, a little bit.
I've only seen the first episode.
Okay,
so
cool.
I just cheated in through a little bonus thing.
There's only 4 in there at the moment. I've genuinely really enjoyed it so far.
Okay.
Which I'm surprised by, but also, I also had to bring something up to you, which was Actually, this can be your rant part for the episode.
You don't decide when my rants
Yeah, that's
happen.
fair.
They
Actually.
just come, okay?
Well, one of your
Neither
rants...
do I. They just happen.
Let's talk about an old rant then.
Okay.
One of your rants was that the strongest hero is always the most boring, which I think you talked about with Captain Marvel.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I agree with that statement.
Yeah, well, not always, because in the movies, like this is a bit of a aside. Because in this, I actually quite like Hawkeye, but in the movies, he is definitely the most boring, but he's definitely not the most powerful.
Is he the most boring? Is he the most boring?
In most of the movies,
I would argue Captain Marvel is still the most boring.
In the first Avengers movie, he is the most boring.
Yeah, that's fair.
Except when he's taken over by Loki, which is not him.
But it is him. It's his alter. No,
it's not. It's not. I just remembered. I remembered you saying that a few weeks ago, and I was like, he's not quite right on that this time.
But it's not like Hawkeye's boy. Hawkeye doesn't get much runway in that movie.
Fair.
So, but anyway, I would agree with that statement.
Yeah, you've had so much time, man. Tell me what you've been up to.
I've been more recently. I've been watching Bad Santa, which, by the way, is a freaking funny movie.
Yeah,
it's a Christmas movie with Billy Joel.
Billy Joel?
What's his name? Is it not Billy Joel? What's his name?
It's not. You mean Piano Man?
No. What is his name? Billy. The guy that was married to like Angelina Jolie.
Was he? Billy Joe something?
This is another thing I do. I just named the wrong actors. Anyway, we'll look up.
You keep telling me what you've been watching.
Bad Santa real quick. Billy Bob Thornton. It's a really funny movie, man. You should watch this. It's like my favorite Christmas movie. I think.
It's kind of up there for me. It's one of those that I desperately need to watch.
If you haven't seen it, you should. It's on Netflix.
I run out of time every Christmas. I tell you this. I have like a tradition of I always watch Love Actually at Christmas time. It's just a thing I have to do.
Yeah, Love Actually is good. It's a very different Christmas.
I have to watch Die Hard at Christmas. It's a thing I have to do. And then other people's like
Bad Santa should be number 3.
Well, that's someone else's. Then it's someone else's turn, so I miss out on watching a Bad Santa. But hopefully this.
I would sub it in for probably. No, because Love Actually, your partner will probably select that anyway.
That's actually a good point.
I did get through 3/4 of the Green Knight before the flight ended.
Did you? I've not.
And I was pretty like bummed to not see the end.
Right.
So I'm not gonna say anything, but I quite liked it. And I would want to finish it.
I'm down to watch it.
That's my second. What else did I see? I saw The Power of the Dog. On Netflix. What the
hell is The Power of the Dog?
Oh, it's just like super critically. It's like the Academy is raving about it. It's one of the Netflix's movies. It's with Cumberbatch. You probably wouldn't like it because you don't like Cumberbatch's accent and he plays an American.
Is it a Western type?
It's kind of it is a Western.
An old Western.
It's not really a Western.
I've seen the ad. Yeah,
it's not like a spaghetti Western.
Yeah, I've seen the ad.
It's just set in the West.
It's more of a pensive Western, right?
Yeah, it's more. Well, it's like the fact that the West is just the setting. It's really not the driver. It doesn't have the same themes as a traditional Western, I would say. And then I did watch.
I wouldn't like it because I don't like Benedict Cumberbatch's accents.
Well, it's American ones.
It's true.
It's like
bad.
The most American accent.
They're real bad.
Yeah. And then as a side note, I did finish Tiger King season 2.
Did you? Because I'm halfway through and I'm kind of bored.
I mean, it is just like the quintessential reality show where you're watching this because you're like, these people are not from this earth. Like,
they're not.
Like they're not. They're Martians. Like, what is going on with this? Like, it's not like fulfilling. It's not like making a murder style where you're like intrigued with how this will end. It's literally just people watching.
It's crazy,
but like at a grand tiger scale.
But Florida people watching.
Yeah, like at a jungle level. Floridian.
Floridian.
Anyway, so I saw that. There's a bunch of other stuff I watched, to be honest. Like, I watched Looper, and I think we should probably do an episode on that. It's a pretty...
The movie?
It's an underrated sci-fi movie.
With Bruce Willis.
Yeah, and...
okay, I don't mind that.
Gordon Levitt.
Maybe later.
Yeah.
That's a good one to come back to. I'll watch that. I like the idea of doing old sci-fi movies that we... because we don't have enough things going on in the background that we're never going to finish. Harry Potter... movies we should have seen, bloody Chris Nolan, but
we could do like an ultimate sci-fi ranking.
We could do. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Ours. I haven't actually seen that many sci-fi.
I've seen most of them.
Have you?
No, well, I haven't seen Johnny Darko, which is apparently like one of the best ones to watch. But
okay, interesting. Well, it's funny you mentioned Cowboy Bebop before, because that was on top of my list of things to talk about from the news over the past couple of weeks. Now, if you'll allow me, because there is a couple of bits. There's a couple. There's a couple of TV bits. There's a couple of Marvel bits. I've really narrowed this down, by the way. Then there's a couple of fantasy bits, because I thought you'd like the fantasy bits. And then fantasy. As
okay.
Yeah, and then we have a beautiful segue into our main topic. Yeah. And I am quite excited to talk about today's main topic, because we've been saying we're going to do it for a long old time.
Yeah, and I quite like the source material, so I have like strong feelings about what's been done.
Well, you've already said that Cowboy Bebop's been cancelled.
Yep.
You haven't watched it.
Nope.
I am indifferent. Like
between you and your indifference and Netflix canceling the show, I don't know if I'm going to watch it.
You probably shouldn't watch it.
I don't
think. I feel like it set up a bunch of stuff to do in a second season, like subtly throughout, and it was never ever going to get that second season.
Well, there's a lot on Netflix right now, so it's got competition. Anyway,
what else on? I'm struggling for anything to watch right now.
Go ahead.
We'll get there. Yeah. So, interestingly, HBO Max are spinning off Colin Farrell as the Penguin into his own series on said streaming service. Which sounds cool AF. Like looking at the costume he's got on, we've obviously seen only the trailers of the movie. A new one came out this week, I think.
I haven't seen it, but I'd be down to watch it.
I'm having my veto of trailer from now on.
So I think that this whole villains getting sideshows or whatever it may be, side characters getting side is good, as long as it like interweaves some of the like main characters into it to a degree. Otherwise, it's like almost too siloed. You know what I mean? Like the Penguin doesn't really exist without Batman.
True.
Like there's like scenario where he's just muddling around and Batman's not involved. So like he needs to kind of make an appearance, and I just don't think they're gonna do that in DC. I don't think they're gonna get Pattinson to just hop on in as Bruce Wayne, right?
Probably not.
He's not gonna do the what's it called, the Iron Man cameo in every movie.
Yeah, maybe not. I was going to ask you this actually, thinking because we were talking about Hawkeye just a moment ago. Yeah. What do you think about Marvel at the moment? What do you think it's going to get to a point whereby if you haven't watched every TV show and every little extra thing that they're putting out on Disney Plus, you're not going to understand the movies?
It's been that way for a long time.
No, not necessarily.
It has.
Not TV shows. They've only just started doing TV shows.
So what do you mean? It's like you couldn't just jump into Iron Man 3 and know what was happening. You couldn't just jump into Avengers 3.
I'm not saying you could, but
so it's been that way for almost a decade.
People who just enjoy going to the movies to watch these things, and maybe aren't as interested in the smaller scale stuff, the TV shows. Is there going to get to a point where if you haven't seen the TV shows, the movies are affected by having not seen them?
So far I don't think so.
Okay.
Like when you really look at like the net of WandaVision, all you missed.
It's a bit circular. Yeah,
all you missed was that like Vision came back and then Vision died again.
But you think about Loki, that basically opened the multiverse.
So Loki is kind of, well, no, the multiverse. They're kind of doing that again. I imagine in this next movie that we'll see on Friday with Spider-Man: Homecoming. Like we'll
spoiler for next week.
I imagine like they'll probably just redo that. Like what I mean? They'll give another reason why the multiverse is opening up. But to your point, like there's probably going to be some that are more integral than others, and I can guarantee you Hawkeye isn't one of them. So,
I think that's going to establish a lot for the street level stuff. There was a piece of news, and I don't think I've got it in here, but so it was confirmed. And if you remember, for a long time, we were talking a lot about #SaveDaredevil. We talked about that for a while. Charlie Cox coming back. It's been confirmed by Kevin Feige himself that he will be returning at some point. So that street level stuff, it's going to be affected.
I think it'll be a factor. I just don't think it'll be like any worse than what's already been the way of Marvel. When you didn't see Ant-Man, he just shows up as this big ant. You know what I mean? Like, I just think it's like always been a thing, and like
big dude,
and they still make money. So I don't think it'll be that big a deal.
All right, further TV news then. Did you see at the Gaming Awards there was a new trailer at last for the Halo TV series?
You see it? You sent it to me, and I almost like don't want to watch it. Yeah, because like I just know it's not gonna be good.
The show?
Yeah.
Why do you think that?
I just think that Halo lost its like core storytelling ability a long time ago.
Okay.
And like I don't even know what it's about, so I couldn't even tell you like detailed reasons why. I just don't want to build up my hopes. I don't want to have I haven't even played the campaign of Halo Infinite yet because I'm just afraid that the story's gonna be so bad. And so I'm just playing multiplayer.
Is the campaign even out yet? I thought it was just the
I think it just came out.
Okay.
Yeah, it just came out.
All right. I think that would be one you'd probably have for Christmas from said partner. So you might
I already
hold
know
off
I
getting it.
Because I pretended to buy it just to get her to admit that she bought
did you?
it. But she didn't know the multiplayer was free. So look, I'm downloading it. And she's like, no, I bought it. And I was like, too late.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Wow, you are a real bad boyfriend.
Yeah, I'm terrible.
All right, couple of bits of Marvel news then. Talk to me. It has been announced this week, a lot of the place, that apparently Peter Parker, Tom Holland, will be returning for a new trilogy after said current trilogy is closing up. What do you think?
Duh. He's young. He's loving being
still young,
Spider-Man.
yeah.
The only reason that wasn't going to happen was not because of Tom Holland.
Well, for Sony and Disney.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, he wanted to play. He says he'll play it as long as they'll keep him, basically. So I'm excited for that.
Now as a little 22-year-old dating MJ.
And he'll be bored in a year.
You never know.
Well, Sony have locked him into every movie ever. So Uncharted, everything else that's ever coming out. So
good. Who's starting to actually? Sorry, side note, because you just said he's locked in everything. Adam Driver is starting to almost get to the point where it's like, bro,
saturation.
Chill.
Interesting.
That being said, he's a great actor.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you can't be like.
What have you seen him in?
What do you mean? Oh, recently.
Recently, yeah.
The House of Gucci.
Have you seen that then?
I haven't seen it, but I'm just seeing his face everywhere. House of Gucci, that one medieval one. There was one on Netflix recently. I forget what it is. The Last Duel. There's another one on Netflix that he was on. Then I saw him in Silence, and then he's just been in every movie. That being said, though, he's not bad. I just worry that I'm like, bro, these can't all be good.
So he isn't Ryan Reynolds, right? He plays actual different characters in the movies he's in.
That is
so I feel like I'm not going to get bored of him anytime soon. But are you going to watch The House of Gucci?
I heard good things, but it doesn't really appeal to me.
It's not really in my wheelhouse.
I think like my partner would probably want to watch it, and I'd watch it for her.
That's a good enough reason to watch it at some point. All right, one more bit of Spider-Man news then. Did you see the teaser trailer for the new Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse upcoming movie in 2022?
I didn't. Is it the same style?
Same style. Yeah. Looks great. Looks a little bit older. It really looks cool. Yeah. I'm excited for that. That's probably one of my most excited. I'm more excited for that than I am the movie on Friday. Honestly, I'm at the point where I'm so saturated by hearing about what's the new one called? No Way Home. The Tom Holland one. I'm so saturated by just hearing about it. I no longer care. I kind of just want to get it over with.
Really?
Yeah, and I know so many people
excited to
I'm so
watch
excited. I saw a tweet today that literally just said, I'm more excited for that Spider-Man movie than I am for Christmas. And I'm like,
I don't agree with that.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I'm kind of over it. It's
too
much. There's been too much. There's been too much trailers and
I agree. But that's why I've kind of tried to keep myself away from it.
Well, it's a case of that every time I know a trailer's coming out, I have to stay off the internet for 2 days because it's just gonna be all over it and I'm gonna see everything. It's tough.
Did you hear that Henry Cavill is interested in doing a Mass Effect series, depending on how they do it? I'm like, dude,
he says about everything.
You just love video games.
He's
and even more so. On another note, Keanu Reeves on Cyberpunk. I've never played it.
Oh, of course he hasn't.
And I'm like, neither have I.
I kind of want to get it for PS5 because apparently it's quite good.
I want to, but I just haven't. Anyway, those are my 2 bits of news. And also there was a new.
Well, there's a bunch of new Matrix stuff.
There's a bunch of stuff on Alan Wake 2, which we talked about at one point, and it actually looks really cool.
It looks sick.
They're making it into a survival horror, which is
what they
my jam.
Yep.
So I'm actually pretty excited for that.
I mean, that was all the Game Awards, I think. So you did manage to catch some bits,
I guess
even by accident.
Yeah, by accident.
Alan Wake 2 does the graphics look insane.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be cool.
The Star Wars one I mentioned before,
it's a passion project.
The graphics, it looks better than the actual Star Wars movies. That's how good the graphics are.
When I was playing Red Dead, I was like, this looks better than real life.
I know,
and that kind of got me a bit depressed.
I'm a bit like, am I gonna look like this forever now?
I was just I was playing the game. I was like, this looks better than real Montana. Why is this? What have we done to the world? It was very existential crisis mode.
Anyway, brilliant. Sorry, all right, I'm going to give you a couple of bits of fantasy, and then we're going to roll into the main topic. How does that sound?
Fantasy, fairies.
It's your fave, man.
I hate that that's what you think of me.
I do.
I just really like Game of Thrones. That's it.
We've got 2 bits of Game of Thrones.
I know which one you're going to say. Well,
2. I'll give you 2 quickly. So, firstly, The Wheel of Time, which I believe is a new Amazon Prime show that I've been looking at for a little while and thinking I should probably get Amazon Prime to watch. It's apparently 85% on Rotten Tomatoes.
So my buddies are talking it up, and he's also talked up this book series as the only thing close to Thrones.
Really?
Yeah.
As in the Wheel of Time stuff?
Yeah, it's but the guy never finished it, and then he died, and then someone else finished it.
Oh.
So it's a bit controversial there, but like that's been around forever, and I've always saved that one as like
they've been talking.
It's gonna be a while. Maybe I'll read that one with my kids someday. I'm gonna save one series to like read with them. But
they've been talking about doing a cinematic version or whatever you want to call it, like an on-screen version for so long.
Yeah, I'm glad someone with a lot of money got behind it because it's like, dude, it's like 13 books.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like the commitment alone, right?
At least it's at least it's not getting reacted to the same way Cowboy Bebop did. What would the IMDb score was for that?
We have canceled. Oh, that would suck.
Oh, that would be awful. All right, two really quick bits then. And speaking of expensive, apparently a Game of Thrones prequel was scrapped by HBO after spending $30 million on the pilot episode alone. Now, that's crazy, right?
So the funny part is, like, I could have told you when they announced that pilot that there was no way it was going to be good.
Well, the show was apparently set thousands and thousands of years before the events of Game of Thrones and was supposed to show Westeros transitioning from the prosperous age of heroes into the long night. So
it was fucking dumb. The whole point, and that prequel was the only justification.
You say prequel funny, by the way.
Prequel? Peter Quill. Prequel.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Sorry.
Prequel.
Go on.
How do you say it?
Prequel.
What the fuck
like a normal person.
What the fuck am I saying?
Prequel.
That prequel.
Yeah, exactly. This is all getting cut, so.
Why would you cut this? This is substantially good
prime content.
That prequel.
Just keep talking.
I can't do it. I basically figured the only reason the Game of Thrones show ended so terribly with like the whole White Walker storyline was because they were saving some of that reveal of the lore. Like that was my excuse because it was announced right as it was closing out the last season. But no, it just turns out B-Wise and whatever his name was, they were just shitters.
Benioff.
They were just lazy. Yeah.
They were lazy. And funny you say that because it was also announced this week
here we go.
that George R.R. Martin was not happy with HBO's direction on after season 5. And apparently he pleaded with HBO to make it a 10-season long experience for a satisfying ending. Now, I think HBO would have been fine with that as well. I don't think it's HBO's fault.
Multiple times the HBO GM on record said we are like, these guys have a blank canvas.
Cash cow. Go for it. Do what you want.
Which is the funny part, right? Like at the very rarely are like the creative side of the business and the monetary side of the business aligned on something. And this was one of those times where it like totally made sense and they were both aligned and yet they managed to fuck it up.
Well, it wasn't even that. It was that Benioff and Wise wanted out.
Oh, 100%. Well, get someone else.
Yeah, just other people have a vision.
Yeah, like get someone else to do it.
Yeah, reduce the budget again. Go back to the.
They had a lead writer named like Brian something or other who was really good. He writes some of the best episodes. He would have done it.
He should have done it.
Yeah. Anyway.
Get someone else in. Well, mainly other people directed, right? A lot of the episodes. 100%. So that's so interesting.
It's so heartbreaking. Curious though how that news got out.
Wow.
Because George waited a while. So do you think he just like hit up one of his reporter friends and was like, all right, it's been 3 years?
I reckon it's probably from his blog. I've actually been reading like things that he's been saying on his blog, and it's pretty brutal.
I don't think he
doesn't hold back.
I don't think he would say that on the blog though.
I don't know.
I think he probably leaked that to someone or in an interview. It was like, oh well, eventually, like it's been 3 years now. I can talk about it.
Has it been 3 years?
2 at least.
Jeez, that's gone fast. All right. Well, look, guys, if you've heard anything that we haven't talked about, we tried to fit a lot in there. It's been a couple of weeks since we've cut up. We had stuff to talk about, but if there's anything we didn't talk about, did you hear anything on the Game Awards? Was there anything interesting you heard there? Something, a game maybe we didn't talk about? Let us know. Hit us up at Podcast Assemble on Instagram or
thepodcastassemble@gmail.com.
That is where you can email us.
Who emails?
That's very right.
You can tag us on Instagram.
Well,
fucking weirdos.
Segueing nicely into our main topic, did you hear this week? It was announced, funnily enough, at the Gamer Awards that CDPR, Project Red, have confirmed they are making a 4th installment in the Witcher series.
Isn't this like the worst kept secret though?
No,
they've talked about for years that they were A, not done with the Witcher lore, and B, that there was a Witcher game in development. But what they haven't said is that it will involve Geralt. They thought it was going to be they indicated that it was going to be a new character and a new arc. Is that not the case anymore?
I believe that's the point. Like they're saying there is going to be a new installment in Geralt's story, whereby
then that is a change. Okay, got it.
Yes. I mean, they could have done anything. They
Having
could have
not finished the third game yet because it's so fucking big.
so big.
I have no idea. I had no idea. Maybe he was dead. Maybe he was alive.
Who knows?
There's also like 15 different endings. So
yeah, I've heard that. There's a lot of endings, right? Fuck, I don't know. Well, anyway, that is segueing us nicely into our main topic. Do you want to give us, firstly, a return to our main topic theme?
Return to the main topic theme.
Main topic. So Andy did one for us last week, and he had no idea what I meant.
Yeah, he was confused. To be honest, so am I. What are we doing here? We're just singing main topic theme in the same cadence week by week.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah,
that's all we're doing. What more do you want from me?
I don't know. Okay.
Anyway, do you want to preface the main topic?
Yeah, we've talked about it a bunch. We're doing The Witcher season 1.
Season 1.
We're gonna summarize kind of our thoughts on it.
Well, season 2 is coming out soon.
Yeah,
I
because
think it's the 19th of December.
It's in a few days.
I think. It's way soon. So we thought we'd go back and have a little chat about it, bring out all the bits that maybe we didn't flesh out previously, and I wonder if you would like to start for me with your stupid plot summary.
I will start with my stupid plot summary, and it goes like this. By the end of this unnecessarily convoluted plot, you'll be wishing for a world where Henry Cavill played less video games, scenes with Yennefer did not require toplessness to be enjoyed, and that the Golden Dragon was actually a cheap local Chinese restaurant.
Probably is, actually.
I mean, it is, but not in the Witcher world.
That's good.
Unfortunately.
That's better than mine. Mine is simply just...
Fuck.
Destiny.
Yes.
Fuck. That's fine.
That's actually quite good. I have a thing about Destiny in my blurb.
Oh my!
Bullshit.
That's all they talk about.
That's not a plot.
It is said
plot is not. You can't say Destiny and substitute for plot.
I think it's said at least once an episode, every episode.
Or I'm Geralt of Rivia. Every 20 minutes, he introduces.
Someone says this is Geralt of Rivia.
He introduces himself every 20 minutes. It'd be like if James Bond,
it's
like every act did the James Bond shtick. You know,
it's like the James Bond,
but like it's more. It's quite impressive what they've done there.
I thought I'd ask you before I sort of talk about the plots just a little bit. Like, what made you excited for this? Like before it came out, because we talked this up before it came out. Like, why were you so excited?
Look, I mean, like it's a nuanced world, and I've not read the books, so I actually can't speak like the way I would normally about like these kind of world building. But like what I did, I liked the concept. I think that when I first heard about The Witcher, like the monsters were like. And like the fantasy elements were very, very Eastern Europe.
Yes.
Like they were just things that I'd like never really seen or heard of. Like you hear dragons, you hear like the chupacabras and like the Western style stuff.
True.
But like these other folklore monsters that he's come up with and created or stolen from were very unique. To us. Sorry, to me as a viewer.
No, it's great you say that because this is obviously based on the Witcher saga, which is the work of the Polish author Andrzej Sapkowski, I believe it's called. I'm never going to say that right, but it focuses on Geralt and Ciri, Destiny, all kinds of stuff. There's international politics.
There's politics, intrigue. There's like
marginalization
of races,
growing and falling. And,
it's all the stuff. It's all the stuff that you would make for a non-traditional like a non-tropey fantasy.
Yes.
Right? There's stuff that like you see in the day-to-day world, like political drama, like marginalization of certain races.
And we will talk a lot about it.
We will.
So super quickly, and just a caveat, it was said by the showrunner, Lauren Schmidt, that this is very much based on the books and not the games. Good to know. And I'd like to know from you.
She said that because I actually heard her say that it's a mix of both.
Not the video games. Now, I would like to know from you, what do you think the IMDb score is?
I'm still reeling from that because I think she's has said multiple quotes. I think she's conflicted herself. I'm not a big fan of this showrunner. I don't know what the IMDb score is, but I would imagine it's like 6.5.
It's actually 8.2.
That's overrated.
I would happen to agree with you.
Its highs are that high, but its lows are not.
Well, we'll get back to Metacritic in a second. What do you think its Rotten Tomatoes score is?
Well, if 8.2 is that, then I'd say like probably similarly 85.
It's 8.1, 81. So yeah. And Metacritic, what do you think Metacritic is? This is just the overall.
That'd be 52.
This is a 60. Yeah. So you kind of get that vibe that. I mean, we've talked about it multiple times that it's a lot of things, and I don't think it quite strikes the mark with all of them.
It had so much potential.
Yeah, agreed.
And there's certain things it does really well. But
look, we talked about the showrunner. There's a bunch of other people in this. Henry Cavill, who we mentioned previously, is a massive gamer. This is a passion project for him. He apparently hounded the showrunner just to get in this. Yeah, I heard that. And Schaefer, it's a bunch of people I didn't really know before this came out, but the main characters, obviously Geralt, there's Triss, there's Ciri, there's Yennefer, there's Frigilla, there's Jaskier, and one of my favorites, Queen Calanthe. Did you know who she was? Jodie May?
I recognized her, but I don't know what she was from, to be honest.
I was exactly the same. Like, I was of the mindset, I was like, I clearly know who she is, but then when I looked up her IMDb, I was like, I do not know who this is at all. So.
No, I don't. I just remember seeing her and being like, you're familiar, but no, what is she in?
Good question. We'll come back to it.
Okay.
I do have to ask you, though, if you would like to soiree into our favorite, well, my favorite at least, section, which is Goofy IMDb picks.
Yeah, let's do it.
So last week, I presented two to Andy, and he chose a new winner. So what I'm going to do this week is I've chosen one from this show. I have your previous winner, and I have Andy's previous winner. And you have to choose between the three of them.
Winner, yeah.
So Andy's winner was more that it is a random fucking picture. All right, it's not. So what I'm going to do is I'm first and foremost going to show you the one from this episode, which is Frances McGee, which, by the way, great name.
Called Franny.
Can you explain to the audience what is going on in this picture from IMDb?
Somebody peeking at Burning Man. Yes. That's what's going on.
He's basically like
he's dirty.
Yeah,
he's dirty, and he's got like a headband that looks Egyptian, long hair, and he's like looking up at maybe Jesus ascending. I don't know.
He looks like he's out of something like that.
Yeah.
Like it's a definite fancy image, that isn't it?
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not sure it's goofy, but it's definitely siloing him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
The way we like to
It
think.
is a bit absurd. It's as a headshot as well.
It is at least it's a headshot.
I don't understand that one.
So from last week, we obviously talked about
Maybe a still from the Passion of the Christ, but that's
it could easily he's got too much armor stuff on. I don't think it's quite that. So last week we talked about Captain America, the 90s version, and this actor whose name is Mustafa Nadarevich is, well, he's certainly something. We talked about it last week.
Again, this isn't a headshot, surely.
It's just another shot from one of his movies where he's kind of
he's in Scrubs. He's a nurse smoking a cigarette.
Well, he looks like he's the dude who they go down to the morgue and slip $20
That is true. That's
to get a peek at the evidence.
Everybody's already dead. You did talk about this. Yeah. Everybody's already dead, so he can smoke a cigarette.
But his face is like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? So there are your two to begin with. Which one? And then there's obviously, of course.
What's the third?
Then there's, of course, your winner, which is Bobby Blish.
I forgot about this fucking
which is
Space Cowboy.
The steroid cowboy Jack Sparrow.
Yeah.
So which one? So you've got, that's the wrong way. Let's start again. So you have Frances McGee.
I think.
Who is.
Yeah.
He's sort of, he's pigeonholed himself, let's be perfectly honest. You then have Mr. Mustafa. Again, pigeonholed himself.
Just looks like
And finally, you come back to Bobby Blish. Which do you think?
I'm tired of looking at Bobby Blish. I want what's the first guy's name? Steve.
You want to go with Francis?
I want Francis.
Let's go with Francis.
I want Francis.
I love it. Although you did just completely take over Andy's choice from last week.
Sorry.
It's all right. No, it's funny.
I had to do it.
I enjoyed it a lot. I think that's a good section. People keep telling me, I've heard a couple of people saying that's a very visual section.
But is it visual? They can't see it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, we need to be better with posting them on our Instagram and stuff. So
that, or we can make it the thumbnail of each episode.
We could.
Which
I don't know how to do that is the problem.
So
maybe in the future when I work
also
that
people
out,
will be like, what is going on with this podcast?
Yeah,
but that could be a good thing.
That could be a good thing. Ask the question. So let's talk a little bit about the discussion. So let's talk a bit of non-spoilers. What do you think?
Yeah.
Let's come back to the Witches.
Do we want to like summarize the plot at a high level, non-spoilers?
Yeah,
we follow like three central characters.
Three central stories, really.
Three central stories and characters across multiple timelines. Not all of them are across multiple timelines, but most of them. Firstly, you get like the emergence of Geralt of Rivia.
Well, actually, Yennefer goes further back than he does in the actual story.
True. I'm just. I mean, he's the main guy.
It's fine.
A Witcher, which in this world is like an engineered, an engineered Targaryen who curses. No,
yes.
It's an engineered mutant made to kill monsters, and they're like a dying breed. So he's gaining notoriety over a span of decades, thanks to his knack for kind of being at really pivotal points in political drama, as well as like befriending this this bard, who kind of also helps him build mystique around him and his adventures. And then we follow his eventual muse, Yennefer, as she goes from kind of cripple to something else, without spoiling.
We can talk about that.
Yeah,
it's fine.
cripple to acclaimed mage, all the way to Rebel, who's kind of kicked out of the magedom in a bit of a way. And then lastly, we follow Cirilla, who is heir to one of the... Cirilla Siri, for short, who's heir to one of the thrones of the major kingdoms in this world.
And I find that really interesting because I've watched I've read a bunch of stuff about this series, and a lot of it just talks about Ciri, but it doesn't just follow Ciri's story. It actually follows her entire lineage. So it follows from, the hedgehog guy coming back in and then meeting the mother, and then yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. But it follows her entire lineage up to the point she's born. So it doesn't actually just start with her. It starts with her mother and how that sort of turns out.
Yeah, I mean that's because that's how he builds the world in the books.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. Well, tell me what you think of the story then. Like you talked a bit about. What do you think?
So look, I think that the plot in general, if I want to speak candidly, struggles.
Yep.
Most of the issues I would say stem from the decision to do multiple timelines.
I was gonna say
that would solve a lot of stuff.
My very first comment is that this tried to do a Westworld and it failed epically.
For no reason.
It didn't need to.
Yeah.
I genuinely just watched a video 5 minutes before you arrived that was the Witcher timeline in order, and it was great.
And it would have been much better.
And it made so much sense. I was like, oh, actually, this is pretty good looking show. Actually, I kind of like it. Maybe I want to watch this show.
That would have improved. There's other issues with the show for sure.
Yeah.
But that makes it worse. And also, I have a section, I think, for this podcast where I'm going to do fan fiction and tell you what I would have done instead.
I appreciate the little sing-along as well.
Yeah, there you go. And I guess one of the other, areas that I didn't really like is that despite having all these multiple timelines that are meant to be building to something, there's actually no real central plot. Driving the story
other than the destiny of them meeting each other.
Other than destiny.
Yeah, their destiny. The whole point is that Ciri and Geralt are supposed to be together.
They're meant to destiny, so that, but that's just not a plot.
No, it's not, is it? No. I think for me, the key thing that I took from this was that it was kind of ultimately unsatisfying, because, like you say, not only was there not really a driving force behind it, but all of the big reveals were done 4 episodes in. And we watched this together and we worked out that it was different timelines within 2 episodes, maybe. It wasn't difficult to realize what was going on.
I don't think you were supposed... That's the thing.
No, I think you weren't supposed to realize early on. I think you were supposed to wait till 5, 6 when there's all these big exposition dumps.
Maybe.
And I was like, we know this.
But it's not like hiding that did anything for the story.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're right.
And it's kind of, it's helped by the fact a bunch of the lead characters don't age. So obviously, being a Witcher, Geralt doesn't age. Being a mage,
helped by, or is it's fucking dumb?
Helped as in it spurred along by.
Yeah, it made it easier to hide that there was.
That's what I'm getting at. And I guess the best bits of this for me, the best bits of the whole plot, the whole story with me, when it was just Geralt being a Witcher and out there killing cool monsters.
But that was my point. It has redeeming features, but one of them is not the plot.
No,
I would say it's like what you just said.
Yeah.
Right. The things that are more self-contained.
Yep.
As well as it does have a strong theme. I think that despite butchering maybe
Destiny.
the plot, there is besides Destiny, which, again, not a theme.
I keep saying these things
not a plot,
because
not a theme.
Yeah, I keep saying these things because in the show, Henry Cavill's literally tries to use the most minimal syllables possible throughout, and he just either grunts, says fuck, or Destiny.
Hence my joke about him playing too many video games. Because you kind of wish he didn't actually play the video games sometimes, because you're trying too hard to be the video game character.
Well, tell me then about the world building. What do you think? Because for me, I actually quite enjoyed the world building in this.
I'm finding it hard to parse the my for this world because I knew about it before versus if I had just watched it without knowing. I do think they could have done it better, but I do like the world. So I
think they did well with what they have. I liked all the different side portions. So for example, the elves, they were very minimal in this, but I liked that they've left that little thread there. They're going to come back in at some point and be a bigger part. And the point around the Hogwarts, whatever you want to call it, the Witch Academy, it was crap and the acting wasn't great, but I liked the building of that part of the world. I thought it was built interestingly enough that I was still watching.
I didn't mind. I liked the Hogwarts one more than I liked the elves one.
I think the elves one was just more that it was an intriguing detail that they threw in there, and you were like, oh shit.
No, because it's a really important part of the lore and the plot.
Sure, okay.
And it is kind of the opposite of all other fantasy, right? Usually and without getting into spoilers too much, usually the elves are this high and mighty,
I mean,
like Lord of the
like,
Rings style thing.
Yeah, in any literature, of course,
any kind of, and they kind of
Yeah.
do a reversal here for this. But
I guess in terms of the world building, one thing that I am so polarized on is like the monsters in the world. So in the books, the monsters are these things that grew out of control, and the witches were essentially created to sort of beat them back almost, you know, like keep them down. And in this, the monsters genuinely go from, you know, awesome CGI. Like you look at the Striga in that episode, and you're like, this is mind. Well, I think that was prosthetics.
That's why.
Well, yeah, I think it's a mix of the two, right? Yeah, of course. But then you see like the goat man, and you're like, is this Xena warrior prince? What is happening? Like, this is nonsense. So like, I'm polarized on it, but some of the episodes where they were good, they were really good.
No, I agree, and I think that I guess when it comes to lore and world building, like I loved the episodes that weaved in the history of a place.
Yep.
With like motivations for characters, like the best episode is the one with King Foltest and all that stuff that you know, the Striga you just mentioned.
Yeah.
While also showing off a really cool monster and having like all those things, like the character's relation to the geography play into like building up them and the characterization of the place, while also giving Geralt something really cool to kill.
Yeah.
Like those are like that's when this show is at its pinnacle, and it could have done that much more.
So much better.
It's not hard to do that.
All right. Well, then talk to me then about the performances. We've talked a lot about Henry Cavill as Geralt and his love for the character. Do you think he nailed it?
I don't think he nailed it, but I think he's one of the strengths.
Big time.
Despite the fact that there's like little things that bug me, sometimes his voice, you could tell he's trying too hard to be terse.
He's Batman.
Yeah, he's trying too hard to be like, damn,
swear to me.
You know what I mean though? Like it's almost like I can hear your voice is about to crack.
Yeah.
Like stop trying to talk this way so much. But other than that, like I'd say he kind of carries it.
I will find him. No, I think he does a great job carrying it.
I think he carries it. I think that like casting and performances, like the best way I could put this is it gets a grade C. I think just like very, very passable, mediocre, below average, maybe.
Honestly, I think it's completely bipolar. So you've got Ciri, who's phenomenal.
I was gonna say the youngest actress is probably the best one.
Really great, really great in this. And like her mother, Queen Calanthe, I mentioned before, she is also awesome. But then the closest person to Calanthe is her husband, whoever the king was, and he was crap. He was awful. He was so wooden in this. And then
he didn't have a huge role, but like I take your point.
And then you look at the person who's closest to Ciri, who's the elf boy, whose name I've forgotten. He's so wooden. He's crap. He's an awful character. And then you look at the person who's closest to Geralt, and it's Yennefer, who is so wooden and so crap.
I just think there's like a lot of like secondary characters that were just not good.
So I think
they could have cast like this is The Witcher on Netflix with a big budget. Why are you getting people like that are only in NBC shows? Well, they were just not very good actors. And then like you're right, the main culprit for bad is Yennefer.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
So what I think is I think they try really hard to do mirror versions of main characters. So the ones like the 3/6 I just mentioned, they are all meant to be mirror images
Foils?
of the exactly. Yeah. So it's like Yennefer's like the greedy version of Geralt. Geralt just does what he needs to and leaves, whereas she wants everything. The elf,
such a dumb motivation.
Yeah, whereas the elf boy, you know, he's not running to save his own. He's not running for it because he's famous. He's running because his people have been wiped out. Whereas she's running to try and get away from, you know, who she is. It's a case of these mirror versions they just didn't cast them very well. Unfortunately,
I just think that like there's like bad castings, there's bad acting, and then there's just like both, like and that's happened. Like both is happening a lot in this.
I do like
the ones I did like Geralt Mousak. I liked Mousak.
Yeah, he was.
I wish he was in more of it. I quite liked him.
I was really surprised, without spoiling anything, that he wasn't in it more.
Yeah, no, and I thought he was a good actor, good casting. I thought he played his role quite well, and it was a bummer that he wasn't. I'm mixed on Yaskir.
Yeah,
he bugs me, but at times he's funny.
He's supposed to though.
And the times that he bugs me, it's mainly because his dialogue is poorly written.
Yeah, I think he's supposed to. I like that they tried to. I like they really tried to do strong female characters. I don't think they hit the mark with a lot of them. So not Triss, who was the one who was the leader in Hogwarts.
Yeah, I forget her name, but the
She
McGonagall.
yeah, basically Professor McGonagall. I thought she was like a really interestingly written character who just wasn't done justice.
It wasn't her fault. It was the timeline thing that made that bad.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, I agree. She was strong. She was good. I thought they really butchered the other female castings. Trish and Yennefer were just not good. Yennefer had the look, but everything she says out of her mouth is like sarcastic and flippant.
Like, I just couldn't get behind her.
Do you have any other like mode? Do you have any other like shade? Any other kind
of
cadence?
She did not.
It was always just you know.
She was like an angsty teenager
the whole time. Really that was her only mode.
Really frustrating.
That was her only mode. Yeah. I agree.
Okay. What do you think about the pacing?
Yeah, it struggled. Because of the
nonlinear timeline, it didn't help at all. I
would have preferred almost like a what's the Disney show with the bounty hunter? What is it called? Not Boba
Mandalorian.
Fett. Mandalorian. I would have preferred a Monster of the Week Mandalorian style first season for this show.
Me too.
Over what we got, for sure. And that's a slower pace, but it's at least consistent.
But I'm okay with that. Like, I would rather it be slower paced and have like a slow build. Like, you always talk about good character building.
Yep.
This lacked any character building. I didn't get behind any of Yennefer's motivations
because they were fast forwarded over 5 decades.
Yeah, exactly.
Like and you know what was so annoying about it was like every episode they had a line to indicate that like time had passed.
Yes.
And it was like, you are force feeding me this. And it doesn't make any sense. It makes me not buy into the characters. It doesn't like they shouldn't be the same person if it's been 10 years.
And they never tell you about any of the stuff that happens in between.
And it's just like we're supposed to expect it. Like they're kind of treating each other like things have changed, but like they're the same person.
Yes.
And I have no buy-in into their motivations because I have no idea what's happened in the last 10 years.
Yeah. What's made them become unhappy? Yeah. Okay. I'm totally with you on that. But like, let's just quickly touch on the music. What do you think of the Bard's music?
The Bard's music I didn't love.
Yes, it's so catchy, that song though.
It is catchy.
It's so, as soon as it's out your head, it's back.
But I would have liked a
toss a coin to your
I guess I would have liked if they had that one plus like more of like a bar tune.
They needed more
like an English lad song like that could have been like those two things paired together.
They needed more songs.
Yeah.
What do you think of the cinematography?
It had its moments of like epicness when you look at like the Striga episode where it was just like cut for cut while she's getting transformed and he's killing this fucking Striga and it's like they're juxtaposed. I don't want to spoil too much, but I'll save it. You think so? They're just like a Striga is like this like gnarly abortion, like this like birth monster that like comes from like a curse from a pregnant woman, and then you're watching Yennefer lose her ability to have children by getting her powers, and they're juxtaposed together, cut for cut as it's like climaxing. That was phenomenal. Then you see
interesting choice of words.
What? Oh, sorry,
awful.
Frame by frame.
Yeah.
And then you see sorry, that was a funny one. Then you see the fucking hedgehog episode where they're like floating in midair, like with terrible special effects. It was just like the worst cinematography I've ever seen.
Well, let's loop in CGI into this as well a little bit because I think some of the wide shots and some of the stuff they did was just so let down by the touches they made to it, like the cinematography touches, like the episode where they're climbing on the side of a cliff and then there's just this grey mist beside them and you just can't see it.
Yeah.
It's so bafflingly bad. It's like I made the joke, it's like Xena Warrior Princess. There's bits of that show that are better than this, you know? Like it's not great in terms of some of the cinematography is nice. I admit that.
It's probably different editors per episode.
Yeah, probably. And it interestingly works better when they do the darker episodes, which is very unusual for this type of thing. Yeah. Like the Striga episode you mentioned, the very first episode.
First episode was really good,
where he's fighting that huge monster and he's goes.
Well, and there was like strong theme to that episode. Like,
yeah,
it was like we'll start to finish. You knew what it was about.
We'll talk about that in a minute. Finally, then let's talk about a quick one on action, because I'm going to talk about CGI a bit more in a second. Yeah, what do you think of the action?
I thought generally it was quite good.
I think this was when it was small scale. So when you were focused,
was there even any big scale battles? Oh yeah, the ending one. That was terrible.
Yeah. When you focus on Geralt being Geralt and having, is it Geralt or Geralt?
It's Geralt.
Okay. When you focus on him, Henry Cavill doing like, 'cause he puts so much work into this. It's so interesting.
No, you're right.
When you focus on his sword play and how he moves and the minutia of it, it's great. And then when you zoom out and you see all these people are flailing around with swords like idiots, it's like, I think.
Well, there was the problem with the big battle at the end is there's just no emotional stakes.
Well, that wasn't necessarily about the swords. That was the big. That wasn't action. That was. Would we say that's action?
The Battle of Brenna. It's like one of the biggest things in the lore.
It's
kind of like the battle. It's like the Battle of the Blackwater equivalent of Game of Thrones.
It's
well, my point is like whatever you want to say about it. There was magic. There probably was some sword fighting too. No, I don't remember. Anyway,
it wasn't good.
Point is like it was a lot of terrible CGI, and there was no like because of what they'd done with the characters. Like there was no. I had no emotional investment in what happened.
None.
You know, whereas in Blackwater or in like the Battle of the Wall where you have Ygritte fighting Jon, there's like all sorts of small moments that you intermingle in there about characters where you care. This didn't have any of that.
Yeah, and well, I mean, we'll probably talk about it in a minute, and it focused more on the character we've talked all about being a crap character.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, let's come back to that in a moment. So let me ask you then, what do you see as the tones and/or themes of this TV show?
Look, I think there's quite a few, but the one that I got was like we fear what we don't understand, and like humanity's first inclination is to like actually like ostracize and kill.
Yep.
And it's like it's hard not to be different. It's hard to be different in this world, right?
True.
And it's hard to be different in any world, really. If you look at like our own in real life,
the one world we actually know of. Yeah.
I guess, and like that's a pretty nihilistic message that it sends originally, but it pairs that with like a counter argument. But because it's like a universal condition, it's not like it's hard for everyone. Humans just happen to win in this fantasy world.
It's true.
There could be another scenario where the elves did and whatever. Basically, it pairs that with like you have to like make do with that, and it's your individual choice how you handle that. Like, and you can. There's still like moral fiber on the edges, and you can push through that and make a life for yourself. And they pair that in various storylines, like that first princess message, like Geralt or first princess episode. What's her name? The Princess Under the Dark Moon or something? The one in the first episode?
I can't remember.
Anyway, there's the first episode.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay.
The first episode, there's like
the wives' tale.
There's like a princess that like basically was really wronged as a child. Is like almost killed, loses her whole heirdom, and this magician wants Geralt to kill her.
Yeah.
And
we'll talk about that.
Yeah, Geralt gives her an option to make her own destiny, right?
Destiny.
You get the same thing with like Geralt himself. He's like one of the last witchers. He's decided to find a place for himself in this world that actually despises him.
Yep.
Yennefer doesn't realize it, but she's kind of struggling with the same thing. Like she's had a terrible upbringing and she just doesn't know how to handle it. But I think they made a really strong message of like, yes, this world sucks.
Okay.
Yes, you fear what you don't understand.
Well, mine's similar. Mine's more, and this comes through a lot when you sort of focus on the more human episodes, like the first one or the one we talk about with the Striga, that often it likes to point out that humans are the real monsters.
Yeah, that was obvious.
And it's the real obvious one.
Literally in the trailer.
But I like it. I like it as a theme, and it just so true though. And it's interesting you parallel that with some of the other stuff we talk about. And in many cases, when we talk, like I think you even said it a couple of weeks ago, a lot of the best stories are where it's focused on the human condition and how it's pretty shitty.
Yeah, the human, like the heart and conflict with itself is probably one of the only things worth writing about. But that was the main theme I got is just like, you know, you gotta fucking make do.
Make that shit do.
Yeah.
All right, tell me then, what are your three best, three worst? I'm excited to spoil this.
Scrolling down. The monsters.
Okay.
Generally speaking.
Really? It's 50-50 for me.
I don't know, minus the dragon.
What about Goatman? What about
Hedgehog?
What about Hedgehog Boy?
I didn't mind Goatman and Hedgehog. Like they didn't look bad. It's just like not all.
They didn't look good.
Not all monsters are like meant to be killed in The Witcher. Like that's the point. There's like, and that's part of the thing. It's like there's a line that he draws.
Yeah, I get it. I just don't think it was particularly good.
You didn't like the prosthetics? I didn't mind them. The only one I really hated was the dragon. The dragon. Yeah, the Goatman was a bit weird, to be fair.
I feel like the Goatman,
but he was so
just
brief.
So out of proportioned. It was weird.
He had a very big head.
Anyway, go on. What else?
So like by the monsters, I really meant like the Striga.
Yeah.
The first episode.
The one in the lake.
The one in what's the other one? There was even like a small the Jinn episode. I didn't mind. Like they didn't even show it, but like that was like prevalent.
Good episode.
You felt the monster even though you didn't even see it. So generally speaking, the monsters, Geralt, and Ciri as actresses and actors.
Yeah,
they were good. And then just like generally speaking, the strong theme that it had, which it did kind of have throughout the whole series. Even though it was disjointed, the theme was pretty consistent, I think.
Yeah, agreed. Okay. I agree with you. I had Henry Cavill on mine, I think, and I kind of agree with Siri. I thought she was great, actually, and I think she played the conflicted side well, too, so I really like that you've called that out. I think the world, we've talked about it, it's so interesting, and there's so much they can do with this. I just hope that the second series lands, because I think he's tied in for 7 seasons, Henry Cavill, so I hope that it lands and they can, really fly in the next, because I think bad first season... Okay, misaligned first season. I think the second season, if it does well, the third season will just be unreal. Like, I feel like
the hard part
is
though, like so much of what they fucked up is like fundamental to good storytelling. That's the part that scares me. Like, you can't just like you can't just like build characters in the second season. Like we've already gotten introduced to them.
Unless they try and do the same story, jumping around here again.
What I think that they will do that well is the sorry, I'm taking over your slot, but the Ciri Geralt relationship next season, which are 2 of the strongest parts of the show. There's going to be a lot there.
I don't know anything about that, which is great. Yeah. So I only started The Witcher 3, and I don't know a huge amount about it. So that's going to be fun to explore. And the last one I had was I just think it's got a lot of potential, like I just said. Yeah. There are so many threads. There are so many bits that we haven't explored. The world is obviously huge. The novels are ginormous. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see where it goes. Yeah. What are your worst?
The timelines, the CGI, and the rushed characterization. Yeah.
Too simple.
Yeah.
I've just gone with Yennefer.
You know what? Yennefer was tough.
She was not good. Some of the dialogue.
Literally, I think they probably added nudity scenes just because they were like, man, her acting is terrible.
Maybe.
It's not like derogatory for me to say. Like, I wanted her to be good.
Yeah,
she wasn't a good actress, and she was nude in half the fucking show.
It was. I mean, there's some nudity in the games.
There's a lot. It's on brand, but it was like only her.
Yeah.
It was like mostly her.
Who else was there?
There was like one adult sex worker.
I can't even think of anyone else.
That was it, really.
All right, so I said some of the dialogue that also mainly relates to Yennefer and her storyline. The dialogue was awful. Dude. The whole Hogwarts thing, I just felt it was just so contrived and so forced. Didn't like it at all.
Because it was so fast.
The dialogue I'm talking about specifically, like they didn't make it at all believable. Like people don't like. I don't care when it's set or where it is. People don't talk like that. Nonsense. Just talk like humans. Anyway, and you said it yourself. The CGI.
Yeah.
Wow. Dragons. I just don't have words. Let's wait 1 sec. Let's wait 1 sec. Let's wait 1 second to get into that then. Okay. So, is this show better or worse than Aquaman 2018?
I think it's better because it aims to be higher. Like it aims higher. It just it ends up being pretty similar.
It's a big swing and a miss.
It ends up being pretty similar in quality, but it like has, you could tell it tried to be more.
Okay, it tried harder.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I'm going to go with it's better than, on the basis of I think it's got a stronger lead. It's a more interesting world.
Yeah.
And there aren't really any fish in it.
It's always a win.
It's always a win, isn't it? No, it's better. I think it's better.
Like a fish drowning. That's a line from it. Sorry.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. All right. Do you want to do a bit of spoilers?
Let's do it.
All right. So I think we need to do an episode.
Much to spoil, actually.
Yeah, no. I want to do an episode at some point with you around shows which tried to be Game of Thrones and failed. Yes. I think that would be a good one to do because there's a lot. There is a lot. Yeah. And this is one of them.
And the sad part is like it could have. This one is one of the series that actually has the makings to actually be as good. Most fantasies are too tropey to ever be as good as Game of Thrones.
And this I think because it comes out of Eastern Europe and it's got a different angle to it. Like I think by now we're very used to the Western tropes and some of the Eastern tropes. To be perfectly honest with you, like a lot of the stuff coming out of like the myths out of China, Japan, etc. They've been done to death in cinema. Yeah. But the Eastern European stuff, those regions, kind of
more like
it's just not really done, is it?
Sure.
Yeah. So I mean, like there was so much it could have done, and it definitely had potential to be Thronesian in its nature.
For sure. I think that there's a couple other shows I could think of that tried to be Game of Thrones and failed. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll do an episode on that. That's a good one. Well then, okay. Let's talk about a couple of little bits then.
Yeah, what do you think about Destiny?
Destiny
can't be a plot.
It can't be a plot.
First of all,
it's not.
First of all, Siri should, like, the whole thing with Destiny, the only way you use like prophecy and Destiny well is when it happens, but it naturally fits the character based off their experience and the things that have molded them naturally in their life.
Well, we talked about Dune a couple of weeks ago. And very, very much the case that he had this destiny, but it was a case of he was navigating his own way towards it without knowing 100% where he was going.
I think that, like, also, like, with Dune does a bit of this destiny thing too, to a fault as well. Like, there's sometimes where it does it well, but like it's kind of like Harry Potter, like in the prophecy, right? He's the only reason he's going after Voldemort is because Voldemort just killed his parents. That's why he's going after. It's not because of the prophecy. She's not finding Geralt for any other reason than someone told her to.
Yep.
There should have been more of a motivation for that, and they have to like change the plot or the way they do it to make that make more sense.
I think very early on in the second season, we'll talk about this in a moment, I think she'll not like him and she'll want to leave him. And I think there's going to be a case of she goes off to do her own thing and then realizes that maybe she does need him, and it's a case of a big circle. Like, we'll end up back where we started this series. Yeah. What do you think of... So I noticed this actually on a rewatch recently, and I was excited to talk about this. What do you think about the kind of similarities, kind of differences between Ciri and Yennefer? Now, let me explain my thoughts on this, and you can tell me from a perspective of someone who knows a bit more about it. But they both have, raw power. Like, it's kind of untapped, and it's not necessarily something they really know how to control, at least in the beginning. They both, though they're that kind of like anti version of each other. One is doing it for her own personal gain, and one is doing it to basically self-preservation.
Yeah.
Do you think there's some potential that at some point in this, we might see Ciri seduced by that personal gain and wanting to use her powers for selfish, nefarious acts?
So, like, I don't even know what Yennefer's motivation is, which is, like, what makes it hard to answer this question.
Sure.
First, it was personal gain. Then she wanted a baby for no reason, no understandable, discernible reason.
That
then
really
the Jin
off.
episode, she wanted everything.
Well, that pissed me off,
It just doesn't make any sense. So, like, I can't even answer that question because I don't think she's not developed enough or focused enough to actually grant that, like, a fair answer. But I take your point.
I mean, the baby thing annoys me in this because, well... Like, there is a point when the dude who... So let's talk about the magical desexing then. So she goes through this procedure which changes Yennefer essentially from a hunchback with some magical powers to this beautiful...
Yeah, sexy...
sex symbol, basically, right? That everybody wants, and et cetera, et cetera. But in it, she loses the ability to have children.
Yep.
And... She then goes... That something flips, and it's not really explained in the show. Something flips, and she all of a sudden decides she wants kids
Through
again.
the course of 3 episodes, she goes from wanting to be political intrigue, like to basically influence politics in the world, to hating it, to wanting a baby, to wanting only power and everything. So it's like in 3 episodes, your whole basis for your character has changed.
Well, during that desexing scene... Desexing is not really right, is it?
It's kind of gross.
That scene... He genuinely turns to her, looks her in the face, and says, like, you're not going to be able to, like, procreate after this. It's not going to happen. And she's like, do it anyway.
And then she's like, but you took it from me. I didn't have a choice. It's like, yeah, you did.
You made the choice.
You literally did.
There was... she went... Like, they didn't want her to do the procedure. They cast her out.
There's so much wrong with, like... So what I did like about Yennefer's... What I did like about Yennefer's storyline was the basis for it. This backstory was made up, by the way.
Oh, really?
So the backstory of her being a hunchback and the whole story about, like, I'm not sure about the element of, like, them having to change their appearance and sacrifice children. Like, I'm not sure if if that was added, but definitely the backstory being a hunchback was, and being not beautiful. And I thought that they should have left that there for almost the whole season and had, like, give it a slow development of her changing into this other thing, right?
Sure.
Like, so I thought that was a good idea in its core. It was just
wanted naked
executed.
scenes.
Yeah, it was executed poorly.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you say that because she sort of starts off as so her sort of trajectory through the show is she's this sympathetic character who genuinely, like, you feel sorry for her. Like, she's this hunchback.
And if they lasted that longer, you would probably
look. They wanted the sex scenes. Calm down. She then becomes this power hungry moron who will do anything to be, I mean, literally anything. She does the thing that she then regrets to take power and be with some big kingdoms. She then flips to being this wanting a baby, and she kind of becomes an antagonist, sort of, because she's rejecting everything around her. She helps, but begrudgingly, and it's a case of like she falls out with Geralt because of whatever, and then at the end she kind of becomes a hero.
Yeah,
she saves the day at the end of this whole fucking thing. Like that last episode, I
don't remember it that
fucking well. Nonsense.
Yeah. I just think that like her pay, like she would, if we spent more time with her in a terrible state, being abused and going through the school and being a hunchback, you'd empathize with her more than you do.
I think it would have been really interesting if you would have had this one character who was this hunchback and she was abused by everyone, and simultaneously you had this other character who was beautiful and interesting and striking and bewitched everyone around her, and you didn't make the connection that it's the same person. Like, it wasn't obvious. And then in the last couple of episodes, they show you that scene where she gets changed. Like, they could have had a completely different actress doing that. And that would have been seriously interesting, because you would have been like, this transformation changed everything about her. And like, it just flipped her to being this maniacal, crazy person. Whereas in this, it was kind of a case of, well, this week she kind of wants a baby, and next week maybe she doesn't. You know what I mean?
Or even like you can then understand how she became the way she is, because for so long she was tormented. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, agrees.
I think that like either way you do it, it would have been better. I
think anything would have been better.
I also thought like the romances and bromances were not as believable or natural because of the fast forward timelines as well. Like Geralt goes from like being annoyed with Jaskier to suddenly they're friends, and like the only thing you know is like, oh, like it's been like an episode, and he's like, oh, how Geralt, and it's just like he happens upon him on a stream.
It's like 10 years.
It's like he happens upon him on a stream. Like, can't you come up with a better, like, everything was so siloed to like its little time. Like, you don't just happen upon someone on a stream after 10 years and say, Geralt, oh, what is time anyway? Like, that was the line. I'm like, dude, this is so forced.
Yeah, I completely agree. And
what else was there?
We're missing a lot of big plot beats in this, so I think why don't you just give me? Hang on, let me think about this. We're missing
the plot beat is basically that the whole first part was just developing, like, the whole two of the timelines were just literally in the past, and it's developing the lore and Geralt and Yennefer's backstories.
Yes,
and actually the first scene you see of Temeria, one of the big kingdoms, the one that Ciri is basically heir to the throne for, getting overrun by Nilfgaard, is actually the last chronological part of the show.
Correct. Yeah.
So it's
her story is just across about 2 weeks apparently.
Yeah, and then the other stories across like decades, maybe even longer.
Well, the backstory that we haven't really talked about or fleshed out is the sort of War of the Kingdoms. So at the very beginning, you see that Nilfgaard, which you just mentioned, is this. It's almost like a joke kingdom.
Yeah, it's like a sloppy
back alley. Yeah, and that all the different kingdoms make fun of it, and then somehow you don't know how at this point they become this huge like force,
superpower. Yeah.
Yeah, and it turns out that it's Triss, I think, the mage who's gone and helped.
No, it's the other one. It's the one that like Yennefer is supposed to go to Nilfgaard, but she gets out of it by like her own wile.
Is it Frigilla?
Frigilla, and so this other mage is the one that's kind of helped them.
What I didn't understand is so when she goes to Nilfgaard and it becomes a superpower, does she get sort of like corrupted to becoming some sort of pawn in this, and she sort of helps them because does she drive it? Well, we don't know the backstory,
but I think it's implied that they're saying that like she was too weak of like mind and too weak of will to shape and control Nilfgaard. She ended up like kind of leaning into her their baser instincts and feeling like loved for the first time and feeling like special for the first time, because she was kind of like a wet blanket.
Okay.
That she kind of was like, oh, actually, if this is how I can get power. Whereas if Yennefer had gone, she would have been able to influence them to not be so religious.
Interesting. So she was corrupted then. That makes a lot of sense.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Look, I think, like, there's a lot of things that happen that go on in the background. And I guess the thing that annoys me the most is we talked about is they do kill off big characters. And not in the way Game of Thrones does. They're not usually interesting. They're kind of supposed to be big plot points, but like when they kill off like Calanthe, she's one of the best characters. And I'm not saying like, oh no, you killed the best character like a Robb Stark. It's a case of like she was actually one of the interesting people I'd have liked to have seen more of. And same with the guy you were talking about before.
It's kind of just like they killed off all the good actors.
Yeah.
That's what you mean.
Yeah, they did. Like, the ones who would carry the fucking show.
Yeah.
Which was a shame.
I think, I agree. And fan fiction segment, are we ready for that?
Well, you've sent over a couple of questions. You said, where did it go wrong? I think we've kind of talked that to death.
We've covered that. What does it do well? Smaller settings, more intimate.
Yeah, I would like to talk a little bit about your ranking of the episodes, because I'll give you a quick rundown, a 2-word overview of each of these episodes.
Okay.
So
let me find them.
And then we can go through them. I've ranked them, and you can let me know what you think. So episode 1 is the Renfrey episode.
Yep.
Episode 2 is with the Goat Man. Episode 3 is Princess Arda / the Striga we talked about. Episode 4 is Hedgehog Boy. Episode 5 is Genie in a Bottle. Episode 6 is the PS1 Dragon. 7 is Geralt returning for Ciri. And episode 8 is the Big Magic Battle.
Yeah. So
I can give you my run through if you want to think about it while you're...
No, go ahead. I've got it up.
Okay, you know yours. Go on then. Tell me your run through of them then. What do you think each one?
So I'm not even going to give you like a ranking of like
1 through 8.
I will. I will give you like the good, the bad, and the ugly. The just mediocre.
Okay.
So episode 1, the ends beginning, the one where, the first one.
The Renfrey episode.
Renfrey, that's the name. That's what Renfrey episode, quite good. One of the good. For sure. Mm-hmm. Episode 3, Betrayer Moon. Best episode for sure.
The Striga episode.
Striga episode up there with the Renfrey one.
Yep.
Other than that, I'd say like maybe the third best. The only other one that's kind of good is the Genie one, Bottled Appetites.
Mm-hmm.
The rest are either mediocre or terrible, ranging from mediocre to terrible. Can you guess the terrible?
I can. Shall I give you my ranking? You can tell me if you agree.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be just before I do that, the ones I think you think are average, I actually genuinely found myself really enjoying. So I
still enjoyed them, but they were average, like critically speaking.
Yeah, there's only 3 that I genuinely didn't like. I would say the other 5 I had a really, really good time with. So my favorite episode was the Renfrey one. So the first episode, everything about it. The Destiny stuff wasn't too over the top, but I liked the choice between humans. Essentially, Geralt had to choose between which was the worst human, and he eventually ended up killing the one he liked, which is I found super interesting.
Yeah.
You mentioned it a second ago. The second in my list is the Striga episode. Just wow, like the CGI mixed with all the prosthetics, just awesome. The third episode for me was Genie in a Bottle. I found that it was just interesting storytelling.
Yep.
I think the way it was, he was trying to, get over his destiny. But at the same time, he, finally meets Yennefer, and it's how they sort of like initially build like some sort of relationship. 4 was Hedgehog Boy. Like some of the like,
there was good humor in that episode.
Yeah, but I also liked the fact that it showed Geralt some growth in him. So like in the very beginning, you feel like if they weren't paying him, he wasn't going to do anything. But he realized that the right thing would be to save this guy, so he goes ahead and does it. I genuinely really like that. 7 was Geralt returns for Ciri. Like I quite liked some of the banter in it. Like it wasn't bad. And then when he gets trapped in the cage.
Yeah, and there's some cool monsters in that one.
There are. Yeah. It's a good one. And then you've just got the 3 bad ones, which the Big Magic Battle, the final episode, which
pretty
is
trash,
real bad. You've got episode 2, which is the Goat Man, and then you have the PS1 Dragon, which is episode 6, which is so bad.
It's like unbelievably bad.
The show is such a budget.
It makes no sense.
It's nonsense.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Where does it come from? It
looks like a little lizard.
I honest to God think if you'd have put a little image of Spyro the Dragon in there, it would have looked better than this.
Yeah, for sure. Spyro's at least fucking cute.
Yeah. What do you think? Do you agree?
I pretty much agree with everything you said. I hadn't actually seen episode 7, the one where he goes back to find Ciri.
Yeah.
In a while. Like I didn't get to rewatching that one, but I do remember. I recall that episode has like the grave zombies or whatever, and it's pretty good.
I think that's episode. Yeah, I think that's
I think that is that one.
It's between that or 8. Oh, maybe it rolls over.
I think it rolls into 8. Like he's injured into 8.
Yeah, because they're quite cool. I forget what they're called, but they're cool.
Yeah, they're in the game too.
Yeah, they are. Look, I mean, like I like this season for me, for the most part, genuinely really.
I'm glad it was made. The reason why I'm bitter about it is because it
could be better.
It had so much potential, and they even touched it at times.
Well, the last bit you wanted to talk about then was where will season 2 go? And I'd love to know, because I have no knowledge of the books.
So based off the games, which you say she's not even following,
apparently.
But I don't believe her.
Apparently.
I'm pretty sure that they're going to spend it, but this is kind of like we're going to start to see where Ciri's going to go back to Kaer Morhen, which is the birth of the Witcher. We know that from the trailer.
Yep.
And this is kind of where she starts to just actually get trained by Witchers.
Mm-hmm. So does she actually get trained then?
In the game.
Okay.
In the game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not in the book?
And the game has like 5 different ways things go, so you never know what is actually like canon. But
okay.
Which will be cool because those two
know
characters.
When the next game comes out.
Yeah. True. Those two characters are like I think the 2 best actors in the series so far that are like still alive. So I think it'll be good to have them together. And you're gonna get introduced into like other Witchers, like Geralt's like disjointed little family, which are also some of the strongest characters in the games. So I'm pretty stoked that like you're gonna get all of that, and that'll drive the story pretty strong. And Kaer Morhen is like a pretty good setting as well.
The main thing I remember from Witcher 3 is he was just chasing after Yennefer for most of it. So is it a case of she's found a way to block him, the destiny or whatever, and he's chasing her? Do you think that's going to come into it?
Yennefer will make or break whether this is like a great bit of television or good. Okay. Because I don't know what they'll do, but like she's been so unfocused in the way they've portrayed her so far that it can't get much worse, right?
Hashtag recast Yennefer. Let's start that hashtag. Let's do it now. Okay. No, I think that's really interesting. Like I say, I genuinely have no clue. So that will be fun just to find.
I'm curious what they'll do with her for sure.
What they're going to do with it.
Triss, the other mage, has a really big role in the books and series.
Wait, was Triss the older one?
Triss is the older one that like in
Fragilla.
No, Trish is the one in the Striga episode.
Okay. Oh yeah, of course.
She's like a really important character.
Isn't she one of his love interests as well?
Yeah. Well, yes.
Interesting.
Yes. In short.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Spoilers.
All right. Okay then. Let me do some trivia, true or false. How do you think?
Let's do it.
You excited?
Yeah. Excited.
All right. So trivia, true or false. Henry Cavill said that he was in the best shape of his life after filming Superman, which made it way easier for him to get into shape for this.
I just don't understand how he could have been in better shape than when he was in The Witcher because his biceps are the size of my head.
Yeah,
I reckon he was in better shape in The Witcher.
Well, yeah, Henry Cavill.
I don't know if that makes it false or true.
It's false. Henry Cavill indicated that he got in the best shape of his life for The Witcher.
I think so, yeah.
Because he wants to push the boundaries of his physique in every role. Whatever that means.
That's a bit of a douchey thing.
Does that mean more human growth hormone per episode?
Dude, did you see his arms in some of those scenes? I was just like, you're not real.
He's not a human being.
Yeah, you're not fucking
not at
real.
all. All right.
He's like in an interview. He's like, I had a cheat day. I had sushi today. I was like, sushi's a cheat day. What the fuck? Anyway, go ahead.
Well, that's what The Rock does, right? He's always like, sushi cheat day, and I'm like, fuck me.
It's like my fucking healthy day.
Yeah. All right. Next one. Henry Cavill performed all of his own stunts. True or false?
True.
It is true. He apparently did. Like he obviously got the sword play down. He spent a lot of time training. So, I mean, it's cool.
To get that buff and not do your own stunts would be pretty lame.
I mean, it must be hard though because like having that much muscle, like
usually
it'd be hard to be that nimble. Yeah,
sure. Well, he did pull something.
Yeah, he did in the second season. You're right. Yeah, he did. God, that was put on hold for a while.
Yeah.
And finally, my last one was showrunner Lauren Schmidt Hisrich. Is that right? Apparently, initially refused to take charge of the show. True or false?
True.
Seems like you're on fire this week.
It seems like a random.
It is true. When she read The Last Wish, the first book of the original saga, she established to not be the right person for the job, mainly because she was not experienced in fantasy. But then when she read the book again, she found that even with removing the fantasy elements, you have a family story around 3 main characters, so she accepted the role. I kind of like the idea of it being a family story around the 3 of them, but you didn't get any of that in the first season, so fuck knows what she's talking about.
No, but that is what it becomes, which is why this first season I thought should have been isolated. If I would have done it, the characters wouldn't have met till the end. If that.
They kind of did. Well, the main 2 didn't.
What do you mean, who's the main 2?
Syrian...
Yennefer and Geralt are by screen time, the main 2 for sure.
I'm by screen time, but I think by importance to the overall plot, surely.
My point is, like, they should have all been building separately.
Okay.
And then like towards the end, maybe you have some of them meet. Anyway.
Okay.
I think
No,
we've done it to death, though.
We absolutely have. Thank
Yeah.
you very much for sticking with this rambling sort of overview of The Witcher. I love talking about this stuff. I mean, like, we tend to go a bit off topic when we do TV shows, but I think that's part of the charm,
There's
right?
a lot of them, a lot
That's
of
part
episodes.
of the charm.
Yeah.
And I think especially when you're talking about Yennefer, it's hard to stay on track because she's so annoying. All right,
Yeah.
I'm not going to get back to this again. A couple of bits of correspondence. Do you want to go for correspondence this week?
Yeah, do it.
Let's do it. So, friend of the show, Hugo. Thank you, friend of the show, Hugo. He's actually burnt through all of our initial episodes, including the bonus content. So, thank you, friend of the show, Hugo. We
That's
really
impressive.
appreciate it. He does say, however,
What? Oh God, what?
he does have a minor quibble with the show.
Okay, let's hear
And
it.
unfortunately, my friend, it's a little bit to do with you.
I'm sure it is.
He says he would like me to correct the way you pronounce the word archive. Apparently,
Archive.
yeah, apparently when you're talking about the Stormlight Archive, you keep pronouncing it archive.
Archive.
And he says he wants me to. He's going to hunt you down if you don't stop saying.
Has he read the books?
I would assume so.
If he has, then I'll take the feedback on board.
Okay. Well,
Otherwise,
he says,
it's going to be archives.
yeah, please, just call it the chives.
The chives. The
Cream-
Stormlight chives.
Cream and chives.
Yeah.
Well, he says love the podcast though, and he's up to Shang-Chi. So thank you very much, mate.
Nice.
We really appreciate it. Stick with it. We promise he will, try and annoy you even more probably further
Yeah,
down the line. No
contemplate.
further show, right? Well, anyway, couple more bits then. Thank you, friend of the show, Matt. Actually, friend of the show, Matt was the one who recommended we do 1990s Captain America last week.
Oh.
So he asks a question of us, and he says, based off us having watched this immense movie, which you've still not seen,
Thank
but
God.
I will make you watch it at some point. What direction do you think they will take the new Captain America, your favorite actor, Anthony Mackie? As apparently he signed up to do, I think it's a bunch more films and TV shows, but do you think he will eventually be given the super soldier abilities?
That's a good question.
What do you think?
I don't know, and I don't care. I think.
Interesting.
Do you? What do you think?
Look, I love the
I think
Captain
they probably
America
will.
No, I don't think they'll go. Okay,
Yeah.
I love the Captain America character, so I'm kind of
Yeah.
intrigued to where they go with it. I think they've done such a firm job of establishing that he will not be a super soldier. They went the whole series. It was a case of he did not want those extra powers.
Did he
and
not
then-
want them, or did he?
No,
just
he
not
didn't.
get them?
He wanted to be like a normal dude, and the
Yeah.
fact that when you saw the history of the black super soldier program and how it was swept under the rug, I found it very telling that he didn't end up becoming a super soldier, and I don't think they'll go that way.
I just don't know how they make it like interesting if they don't.
Well, I
But-
wonder if at some point, I mean, they've very much made sure it's Anthony Mackie, which is great. I wonder if at some point Bucky Barnes will get some of the Captain America spotlights. In the comics, he gets a lot of that. But they also made the point of being like, he was a murderer, so
He was like
probably
a full-on
can't be Captain America.
psychopath.
Yeah. Even though he now has great hair, he can't be Captain America. So yeah, well, I mean, friend of the show, Matt, right back in. Let us know what you think. You haven't let us know, so let us know if which direction you think they'll take it. And finally, very finally, friend of the show, Kim, has a recommendation for us.
Let's hear it.
Do you know the Terry Goodkind book series, Wizard's First Rule?
I do not.
Apparently, it's one of her favorites and thinks you and myself would very much
Wizard's
enjoy it.
First Rule. It's
Yeah.
adding to Goodreads now.
It's Terry Goodkind. So, and it's got over 4.5 star on Amazon. So, yeah, we'll check that out. Thank you very much. I don't know if we have. I don't know if
It
we've
came up right away.
Yeah, we'll give it a go.
Actually, I have heard of this. I think what's his name? George R. Martin recommended it in a blog or something.
Oh, directly
Yeah.
to you? You talk to him?
Yeah, to
directly?
me,
Okay,
actually,
yeah,
yeah.
okay. Cool. He should
Via
be
his blog.
tell him to do the goddamn books already.
He added me as well.
Okay,
Dre Bebe.
at DL.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for the correspondence. If you want to get in touch, please do. You can find us at Podcast Assemble on Instagram or
thepodcastassemble@gmail.com.
you absolutely can. Thank you all again for sticking with it. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Tally ho.
Later.